Hey everyone, and a big welcome back to my space. If this is your first time here, I'm absolutely thrilled you've joined us. Today, we're diving into a topic that I know has crossed the mind of every single person learning English at some point. Are you ready for it? It's all about how to practice speaking English when you're by yourself at home. Now, I can practically hear some of you thinking, hold on, how can I actually speak English if there's no one else around to talk to? Trust me, I totally get that feeling. That was exactly where I found myself not too long ago. I had this huge desire to speak English well. I dreamed of sounding self-assured, flowing smoothly and natural. But the biggest hurdle? I simply didn't have anyone to practice with. There I was, just a young person in their room, trying to have conversations with myself and somehow sound like a native English speaker. It definitely felt strange, a little clumsy, and sometimes even made me laugh. But here's the amazing thing. Speaking English on your own at home truly does make a difference. And not just a small difference. It can really boost your progress if you approach it in the right way and with the right attitude. You'll find yourself gradually starting to think in English, even dreaming in English, and ultimately, speaking it more naturally. So, grab your favorite warm drink, find a comfy spot, and really listen closely, because I'm about to share everything I've learned. The actual techniques that worked for me, the mistakes I made along the way, and even those small victories that kept me going. By the time you finish watching this, I truly hope you'll feel inspired and ready to begin your own exciting English-speaking adventure right there in the comfort of your own room. Let's get started. So, how exactly do you practice speaking English when you're on your own? Well, the very first step is to stop waiting for someone else to practice with. Seriously. You don't need a language partner. You don't necessarily need a native speaker to practice with all the time. And you absolutely don't need to pack your bags and move to a country where English is the main language. What you truly need is yourself, your own voice, and a willingness to sound a little bit silly for a while. That's exactly how I took my first steps. I clearly remember one day standing in front of the old mirror in my room and saying, "Hello, my name is Alara. I enjoy reading books." That was it. That was my big, groundbreaking moment. It felt short, a bit awkward, and honestly, I chuckled at myself right after saying it. But I made a commitment to keep doing it every single day. Gradually, I started adding a little more. I began describing the simple things I was doing, like, I am washing the dishes, or I am listening to music, or I am sitting on the sofa. I feel a little tired. I want to watch a funny show. Simple, yes, but that's where the magic begins. That's where your confidence starts to blossom. Think about it for a moment. When you were a baby learning your first language, you learned by hearing simple phrases repeated over and over again. It wasn't about memorizing complicated grammar rules or endless vocabulary lists. It was just those simple sentences repeated day in and day out. That's the kind of environment you need to create for yourself at home. Here's what worked incredibly well for me. I essentially transformed my room into my own little English-speaking world. Let me explain how I turned my everyday life into my personal English class. I started talking to myself almost constantly. Literally all the time. If I was preparing a meal, I'd say things like, "I'm slicing the carrots, this knife is very sharp," or, I really like the smell of these spices. If I glanced out the window, I might say, the sky looks so blue today, it's a beautiful day. Or I just randomly verbalize my thoughts about my day. Earlier, I felt a bit unmotivated, but now I'm feeling more energetic and I want to finish reading that interesting article. You see what I was doing? I was taking my regular, everyday thoughts and turning them into simple English sentences. And trust me, I wasn't using fancy vocabulary, and I wasn't overly concerned about perfect grammar in the beginning. My main goal was simply to speak, and that's something I really want you to understand deeply. Don't fixate on achieving perfect grammar right away. Focus on getting comfortable with actually speaking. You will naturally refine your grammar as you progress, but if you don't start speaking, you won't move forward at all. One wonderful habit I developed is something I like to call the English thinking stroll. Every evening, I would take a short walk around my neighborhood and just talk to myself in English. Not always out loud, of course. Sometimes I would just whisper, and other times I would simply move my lips without making a sound. But the key was that I was constantly forming English sentences in my mind. And this simple practice made a huge difference. I started to feel more and more comfortable with English. It began to feel like a friend, rather than a daunting subject from school, not something that was there to judge me, but just a friend I could have a conversation with every day. Now, let's talk about the incredible power of mirror practice. Truly the best free speaking partner in the world. Your mirror doesn't criticize you, it doesn't correct your mistakes. It simply reflects you back to yourself, and that's all you really need. When you look in the mirror and speak, you become much more aware of your body language, your facial expressions, and your tone of voice. And that's what real communication is all about. It's not just the words we say, but also how we say them and how we present ourselves. So, here's what I used to do. Every evening, I would stand in front of my mirror and speak for just 5 minutes. That's all. Sometimes I would talk about my day. Today was quite relaxing. I woke up early and enjoyed a quiet breakfast. I didn't have any big plans, but I feel content. Maybe tomorrow I'll visit the local market. Other times, I would talk about my dreams and aspirations. I really want to travel to Canada someday. I'd love to see the beautiful landscapes and meet new people. I also hope to work in a field where I can use English regularly. I truly believe that one day, I will achieve these goals. This little routine helped me build confidence. Not perfection, just a genuine sense of confidence. And believe me, confidence is often more important than perfect grammar when you're starting out. Another fantastic technique I want to share with you is called shadowing. Have you ever heard of it? Shadowing is essentially like being someone's echo. You're copying their voice in real time. You find a video, perhaps a scene from a movie or an interview on a platform like YouTube, and you try to repeat exactly what the person is saying almost at the same time as they say it. You try to mimic their tone, their speaking style, even their pauses. It's like being their shadow. This technique is incredibly powerful because you start to naturally pick up the rhythm and intonation of native speakers without even consciously trying too hard. You begin to get a feel for how natural English sounds, and once you have that feeling, it becomes much easier to speak it yourself. I used to shadow my favorite English-speaking content creators online. I would listen to a sentence or a short phrase, pause the video, and then try to say it out loud, mimicking their pronunciation and intonation as closely as possible. Sometimes, I would even record myself and then compare my recording to the original. It was often fun, and honestly, sometimes quite amusing to hear myself, but it really helped me train my tongue, my ears, and my mind to work together in sync. Now let's talk about one more wonderful method. Creating your own English diary, but instead of writing it down, you speak it. Yes, a spoken diary. Every evening, I would take my phone, open the voice recording app, and simply talk for 2 to 3 minutes in English. I would talk about my day, my feelings, what I ate, something that made me smile, or something that might have made me feel a little down. I might say something like, "Today I felt a bit lonely, but I tried to focus on staying positive. I watched a funny video online, and it made me laugh. I didn't accomplish a lot today, but I'm grateful for this peaceful day." And the important thing was, I never showed these recordings to anyone. They were just for me, my English voice, and a safe space to express myself. Over time, I noticed a real difference in my confidence and fluency. Here's a fun idea you can also try. Pretend phone calls. I used to pretend I was having a phone conversation with a friend. I'd walk around my room and say things like, "Hey Zara, how are you doing today?" "Oh, really? That's fantastic news." You know, I watched a really interesting documentary last night. It was so thought-provoking. Okay, great catching up. Talk to you later, bye. It might sound a little silly, but it's an amazing way to practice real conversational flow, the kind of back and forth that actually happens in everyday life. Now, let's be honest. You might feel a little self-conscious doing all of this. You might feel a bit strange talking to yourself. But please remember this. You are not being strange. You are growing. Every significant achievement starts with small steps, and speaking English at home is one of the most powerful small habits you can build. No one is watching you. No one is judging you. Use that privacy as your strength. Use your alone time to nurture your English voice. And if you ever feel stuck or discouraged, just repeat this to yourself. I don't need to be perfect right now. I just need to keep going. Because fluency comes from consistent effort, not from some innate talent. Let me share a personal secret with you. The reason I learned to speak English wasn't because I was exceptionally intelligent. It was because I was consistent. Every single day, I did something in English, even if it was just saying 5 simple sentences. I didn't spend hours studying grammar books, and I didn't try to memorize hundreds of new words every day. I just spoke again and again. So now, my dear friend, here's what I really want you to do after watching this. Choose just one of these methods and start today. Talk to yourself in the mirror, record your voice, take an English thinking stroll, pretend you're calling someone. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Just take that first step and do it. Because your room, your home, your personal space, it can absolutely become your very own English language sanctuary. Your very own personal English-speaking studio. And please, don't forget to celebrate those small victories along the way. When you manage to say your first complete sentence without mentally translating it from your native language, give yourself a smile. When you find yourself speaking for a full minute without stopping to think, maybe do a little happy dance. And when you hear yourself sounding more natural and less forced, confidently say, "Yes, I'm definitely getting better. Oh, and I'm not quite finished yet." There are so many more creative ways to transform your home into an engaging English-speaking playground. Let me share a collection of extra tricks that I've used and still find incredibly helpful for keeping my practice fresh, fun, and super effective. First up, let's label your world. Grab a pack of sticky notes and start writing down the English names for everything around you. Mirror, door, pillow, laptop, toothbrush. Stick these labels on each corresponding item, and every time you interact with it, say the English word out loud. For example, as you reach for the door, say, "door," or "I open the door." This simple habit helps build your vocabulary in a real-world context, and before you know it, your brain will automatically recall the English word whenever you see the object. Next, try the powerful technique of reading aloud. Choose a short paragraph from a book or an article you find online, and read it out loud. Don't be afraid to exaggerate your expressions. Play around with your tone of voice, and even try to act out any characters if there's dialogue. This exercise strengthens the muscles you use for pronunciation and trains your mouth to form English sounds more naturally. If you stumble upon a word, slow down, sound it out syllable by syllable, and then try saying the whole sentence again smoothly. Remember, consistency here is key to developing smoother and clearer speech. Now, let's get visual with video summaries. Watch a short video clip. It could be a cooking tutorial, a travel vlog showcasing an interesting place, or even a short TED Talk. After watching, pause the video and try to retell everything you just saw in English, using complete sentences. For instance, the chef added 2 eggs to the bowl, and then she whisked them vigorously until they became light and fluffy. This exercise cleverly combines listening comprehension with speaking practice all in one go, and it really helps build the habit of thinking directly in English. Don't underestimate the power of describing pictures. Open a random image search engine, pick a photo that catches your eye, and spend about 2 minutes describing every single detail you see in English. You might say, "In this picture, I see a person wearing a vibrant red jacket. They are standing beneath a large tree with leaves that have turned a beautiful golden yellow, so it looks like autumn. The person is smiling warmly and holding a cup of coffee in their hands." The more you practice this, the more comfortable you'll become with spontaneously creating sentences on the spot. One of my personal favorites is role-playing different scenarios. Imagine you're in a job interview, or perhaps you're ordering food at a restaurant, or even booking a hotel room for a trip. Walk around your room and speak as if there's a real person on the other end of the conversation. You could start with, "Hello, I'd like to reserve a double room for 2 nights, please." Then, switch roles and respond as the other person, perhaps saying, "Certainly, may I have your name and your expected arrival date?" This kind of practice builds situational fluency and really prepares you for real-world English conversations. You can even write out short dialogues. Maybe 5 lines for person A and 5 lines for person B, and then record yourself playing both parts. Focus on changing your voice slightly for each character. When you play it back, pay attention to where you can improve your intonation or pacing. It's like having a fun playdate with your own English-speaking self. Feeling a bit adventurous? Why not try some accent exploration? Pick an English accent that interests you, perhaps American, British, or Australian, and try to mimic how native speakers of that accent talk. Watch interviews or videos of people speaking with that accent, pause frequently, and try to repeat what they're saying, focusing on their pronunciation and rhythm. Don't aim for perfect imitation right away. This is more about training your ear to recognize different sounds and the natural flow of different English varieties. After a while, you'll likely develop your own comfortable and natural accent style. Here's another fun technique. Create short monologues. Choose any topic that comes to mind. It could be your favorite movie, your dream vacation, a hobby you're passionate about, and then speak about it uninterrupted in English for 1 minute. Don't prepare any notes beforehand. Just let your thoughts flow naturally in English. You'll probably stumble a bit, and you might have some pauses, but that's perfectly okay. In fact, those pauses are valuable because they highlight areas where you might need more practice in finding the right words. If you enjoy using apps, look for speaking prompt apps. Many of these apps will give you random questions, like, what would you do if you suddenly won $1 million? Try answering these questions spontaneously, recording your response, and then playing it back to hear yourself. It's like speed dating with different English conversation topics, and it really trains your ability to think and speak on the fly. To really push yourself, consider starting a 30-day speaking challenge. On day 1, introduce yourself in English for 1 full minute. On day 2, describe your breakfast in detail. On day 3, talk about one of your favorite childhood memories. By day 30, you'll have accumulated over an hour of speaking practice, which is a significant achievement. Finally, remember that even though you're practicing at home, you can still connect with others online. Look for online voice communities or voice chat lounges where people practice different languages via audio. This can give you the opportunity to have real-time conversations with other English learners, which can be incredibly motivating and helpful. Do not only listen to, speak with, and learn from real people, but do so from the comfort and privacy of your own home. Another secret weapon in your language learning arsenal is an error log. Keep a small notebook or a dedicated note on your phone where you jot down any mistakes you become aware of during your practice sessions. Perhaps you consistently mix up the verbs borrow and lend, or maybe you find the th sound particularly challenging. Make a note of it. Then, each week, take some time to review your error log and consciously practice those specific trouble spots until they gradually become areas of strength. To really boost your thinking speed in English, try to envision an English movie playing inside your mind. Picture everyday scenes. Walking into the kitchen, making a cup of tea, checking your phone, and then narrate these actions to yourself in English, in real time. This exercise is fantastic for training your brain to think directly in English and significantly reduces the mental step of translating from your native language. For all the music lovers out there, here's one you'll enjoy. Sing English songs. Then, go a step further and explain the lyrics in your own English words. Pick a catchy song you like, learn the chorus, and belt it out. Afterward, take a moment to talk about what the song means to you personally, what emotions it evokes, or what the story behind the lyrics might be. It's a creative and thoroughly enjoyable way to practice your speaking skills. If you're more of a visual thinker, try drawing a mind map around a particular topic, such as my future goals. Branch out from the central idea into categories like career, travel, and hobbies. Then, speak through each branch, elaborating on your ideas. For example, under career, you might say, I see myself working as a graphic designer. I really enjoy the creative process and the act of organizing visual elements. The very act of structuring your thoughts visually and then verbalizing them helps build both your language structure and your fluency. Want to get a taste of being a content creator? Try making your own mini podcast. Choose a theme that interests you, perhaps book reviews, movie recommendations, or even simple cooking tips, and record yourself talking about it. You can even invite imaginary guests and ask yourself questions, or share helpful tips related to your chosen theme. When you listen back to your recording, you might be surprised at how natural your English sounds, and you'll also clearly identify areas where you could refine your delivery. For all the daydreamers out there, here's a great one. Plan your dream vacation entirely in English. Research a city you'd love to visit, say, Paris. Then, speak out your detailed itinerary. On day 1, I will visit the Louvre Museum. I really want to see the Mona Lisa and the Venus de Milo. Then, I'll find a charming cafe and have some delicious croissants for breakfast. The more detail you add to your plan, the more vocabulary and sentence structures you'll naturally practice. You can also write a short script for a part of your imaginary trip, just a paragraph or two, then put it away and try to reenact it from memory. This wonderfully bridges the gap between writing and speaking, and helps you internalize new phrases and expressions. Finally, imagine you're an English teacher and you need to explain a grammar point to an imaginary student. Choose something relatively simple like how to use the present simple tense, and explain it out loud in English. We use the present simple tense to talk about habits or routines. For example, I eat breakfast every day. Teaching is often considered one of the most effective ways to solidify your own understanding, and this exercise turns you into both the student and the teacher. Ultimately, all of these extra techniques boil down to one core principle: creativity in your solo practice. If you approach your alone time with curiosity and a sense of fun, you'll never find yourself running out of things to say. Your room truly becomes your stage, your mirror your audience, and the possibilities are endless. And before we wrap up this part, I want to share some crucial mindset shifts and progress tracking ideas that will help transform your solo speaking practice from a casual hobby into a consistent habit and eventually into a valuable lifelong skill. First, let's address mindset. The biggest obstacle that many learners face isn't actually pronunciation or vocabulary. It's that critical voice inside their head that whispers, I can't do this, or I sound ridiculous, or I'll never be as good as a native speaker. When that negative voice pipes up, I want you to consciously pause and say to yourself, thank you for your feedback, but I am choosing action over doubt. Because every single time you push through that little wave of fear or self-consciousness, you are actively rewiring your brain to focus on progress rather than perceived problems. One particularly powerful trick is to create a short pre-speaking ritual. Think of it as a mini pep talk you give yourself before you hit the record button or start talking to your reflection. I personally always do 3 simple things. I take a deep breath, I smile at myself, even if it feels a bit forced at first, and I remind myself of one small win from the previous day. It could be something as simple as, yesterday, I spoke for a full minute without needing to translate in my head. That tiny positive reminder often gives me the courage and momentum I need for my practice session that day. Next, it's essential to measure your progress. When you're practicing alone, it can sometimes feel like you're stuck in a loop, repeating the same mistakes without actually improving. That's why I strongly suggest keeping a simple voice log, perhaps using a spreadsheet program like Google Sheets or even just a dedicated notebook. Every time you record yourself, whether it's a spoken diary entry, a shadowing exercise, or your mini podcast, jot down the date, the length of the recording, and then 3 specific things. One thing you feel you did well, one thing you'd like to improve in your next session, and one new word or phrase that you consciously used during that recording. Over time, when you look back at your voice log, you'll likely see that the list of things you want to improve gradually becomes shorter, while the list of things you did well grows longer. That tangible record is powerful proof of your progress and can be incredibly motivating. Now let's talk about the idea of taking your solo talks public, but only when you feel genuinely ready. Sharing your recordings in a supportive online language learning community, or even just sending short audio clips to a trusted friend who is also learning English or is a native speaker, can be a huge boost to your confidence. It might feel terrifying at first to put yourself out there, but I promise that the vast majority of people in these communities are incredibly encouraging, and hearing positive feedback can often accelerate your growth far more effectively than any amount of self-critique ever could. Another really valuable technique I highly recommend is question. Strategies, creative role-playing exercises, advanced shadowing techniques, story circles, even if you're the only participant. Dedicated immersion days where you try to think and speak only in English, consistent progress tracking, and joyful celebration rituals for your milestones. You now have a wealth of ideas and techniques that can fill your days, weeks, and even months with confident English speaking practice. Always remember that the very heart of this language learning journey is consistency and, equally important, kindness and patience toward yourself. Every single moment you consciously choose to speak English, no matter how short or imperfect it might feel, you are actively investing in a future where language is no longer a barrier that holds you back, but a strong and reliable bridge that connects you to exciting new opportunities, meaningful friendships, and enriching experiences. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this valuable time with me. I truly hope you now feel inspired, well-equipped with practical strategies, and genuinely excited to embark on your own English-speaking adventures right at home, like never before. If you've already experimented with any of these methods, please do share your experiences in the comments below. Let me know which one has been your favorite so far, or which one you're most eager to try out starting today. And of course, if you found this video helpful and encouraging, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more language learning insights, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next in-depth exploration, where we'll be showcasing some of your inspiring stories and answering your most pressing questions about the art of solo English practice. Keep speaking, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.